So, I was having a conversation with my grandson, and he was telling me about moving and not wanting to move because he didn't want a bigger room. And, me being a guy and liking to have organization and space, of course, my first response to him is, you're going to love the bigger room as you get older. All the stuff that you collect, your items, your possessions, you'll be able to organize better. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you gather things as you go and you grow. My question was, well, why don't you want a bigger room? And he said, because that means it takes longer to clean. He was absolutely right. And I say that and take that and put it in the perspective of, as we go and grow, we collect things. And I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about personally, internally, spiritually, emotionally. We collect things. We end up having layers of just stuff of which we've put on over the years for whatever reason. And then there comes a time when you have to organize, clean up, and it takes more effort. Sometimes you just have to strip it down, whatever it is, so that you know what you're working with, so that you know what you started with, so that you can maintain what it is you're really supposed to be maintaining. If you've got anything and it's got layers of dust or junk or facades on it, then how do you maintain the true entity of which you're trying to get to? You can't, because you don't touch it. And we do the same thing with ourselves. We bury ourselves so deep within these creatures, these beings, these presentations that we want to put out of ourselves. But where's the real? Sometimes you just have to strip it down. Over COVID, so many people went in with so many different types of things physically. Possessions, homes, cars, jobs, even weight. And somewhere along the way, they had to strip it down. People lost items. People lost people. People lost things that they swore by, couldn't do without. People had to get rid of things, not just necessarily lost things. People had to get rid of things. They had to strip it down. And when it came out of it, what they realized is that when they stripped it down, what they were left with was the important stuff. They were left with themselves. They were left with the base items. They were left with the foundation. And then they realized, this is who and what I am. This is who and what I have. Or at least we hope they did. Those that adjusted and moved on, those that moved on and actually came out better than when they went in, those were the ones that stripped it down, took a look at it and said, I don't need all these layers. I don't need all this extra. We're so busy trying to be extra. We're so busy trying to have extra. We're so busy trying to present extra that we just layer up. And not only can people not touch us, and when I say touch us, I mean touch us in the most real sense. And partially we do that so that we can't be touched. We do it so we can't be touched emotionally. We do it so that we can't be touched spiritually. We do it so that we can't be touched mentally. We want to be untouchable. We want to be invincible. We want to be this impermeable being, only exuding what it is we want other people to think that we are. Problem with that is you layer up so much you can't even touch yourself. You layer up so much, you put things over your heart, you put things over your mind, you put things over your emotions. And when you need to reach them, you can't, because the buffer is so thick. It's like the callus on your hand, on your foot. It's there to protect, but at the same time it also takes away from. You see people with calluses and corns on their feet. They're there to protect their feet from the friction of the shoe or the type of shoe that they're wearing. But when they take their shoes off, the feet look kind of jacked up. Now, the reason they have those corns is because they were layering up. Didn't want to wear the right size shoe. Didn't want to wear the right type of shoe. So they wore the type of shoe that they thought presented them in a certain way. And maybe they didn't just wear that shoe and that type of shoe. They wore it in that size because they didn't want the feet to look big. Females don't want the feet to look big. Some guys don't want their feet to look big, at least not in certain shoes. Some guys, a lot of people, period, don't want to wear certain types of shoes because they think they look a certain way. Man, use your swag for what it is. But again, the corns, the calluses came about because they were layering up. And now those pretty sexy toes that they used to have, those handsome feet that they used to have, they're not there when they walk down the beach. Now they're kind of jacked up. They got a different kind of layer. Because calluses and corns are basically just scarring. So now there's a different type of layer, not necessarily the one that you were putting on. There is the one that is a result of the layering that you were putting on. Scarring. Now, anybody that knows anything about a scar, when you touch yourself in that part of your body, you don't feel it. You might feel the pressure, you might feel the rub, but you don't feel it. Why? Because, and I might be wrong, but scars don't have nerves in them. Scars aren't there for feeling. Scars are there to protect. Scars are there to protect the open wound, whatever it was. Scars are there to protect your body from further damage. They're there to fill the hole, the wound, the gape that was created from whatever the trauma was. And so as we experience trauma, whether it be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, we put on layers to avoid that trauma. We play football, we put on layers, we put on helmets, we put on pads to avoid the trauma of getting hit. And yet you still gonna get hit. Been hit, gotten hit, can tell you the pads help. They do, but you're still gonna feel it if you get hit by the right one, trust me. But you get up and you keep it moving. Now those layers we can take off. Those are the right types of layers. But there's still the trauma. Because we put on that layer and we thought that we could absorb the trauma. And we all know that, recent years or years not too far gone by, we had the whole big thing about football players and concussions and that type of trauma. They layered up, still had issues. Because we layered up to subject ourselves to certain things. And so, Again, strip it down. Work it the right way. Put on the right shoes, right clothes, wear the workout gloves. Now, I don't know what it is that you're layering up from. Half the time, we don't know what it is we're layering up for or from ourselves, because we go out into society and we think that we need to have on certain layers. So we layer up, but we don't really understand why we're layering up. We just bend to the perception, or bend to the transmission of what others want to see us as or think we should be. And in the meantime, we cause ourselves scarring. And you can't feel it. Sometimes you just have to strip it down. Thoughts from the basement.